whether they could fund that much. At that time, almost 80% of their liabilities were in the range of up to 3 years. So the asset liability was the major. And despite that, yes, we had the vagaries. Everybody knows the story of the ups and downs which were there. The first phase of growth was all very, very encouraging, and so many private sector participants came in, and we had a number of tenders. We had a number of road projects. Then came the second phase of the trough, where we had over-leveraged promoters, we had land acquisition, we have clearances, and all those problems. We have gone through a number of learnings. And the third phase, since 2015-16, we have seen the reforms. And now we are seeing the fourth phase, where we are having different asset classes emerging in the infrastructure sector itself. So all these things have been the kind of journey that the sector has gone through, and infrastructure has direct linkage with the growth, the GDP, employment, overall well-being of the country. And on the other hand, the standards that the sector has set has again led the aspirations of people to be a little more higher. And I don't think it can go back, because the aspirations have now seen some standards. So we need to go only forward. But even during the phase of learning, I would put it this way, that the bankers did put in their best, and 15-year funds were made available. We have seen a number of success. We never had these private airports, all the private airports. You see the development of the coastline, the longest,
yes,
east, west, south. The power plants, renewable energy. Everywhere we have seen growth. Last 4-5 years, we have seen a CAGR of infrastructure projects growing to about 17%, which is excellent as far as the bouncing back is concerned. So we have the HAM models, we have the reforms, we have new concession clauses, new instruments, monetization, pipeline, which is almost unique in the world. I don't think anywhere else in the world we have this kind of a list of projects, which was about 6,500. Now we have a very close monitoring also by the government. It's 9,300 projects in the pipeline. We have the monetization pipeline.
True.
Which is all, a very, very good, milestones in the progress and journey of the infrastructure. The challenges were there. What I mean to say is, challenges were there. The unique part of the Indian journey has been learning while doing.
True.
And IIFCL is the chair of the Interbanking Consortium of the Shanghai Cooperation Organization, and I've had the opportunity to discuss with the various counterparts in the Asian economies. And the capacity building today has become very, very important, where China, and including China and Russia, they would like to know the models of the public-private partnerships,
yes,
that India has been following. So I think we have come a long way. But yes, we are still at, in the next phase. Yes, the next phase of growth is staring at us, where we need, where the, the expectations are very high. The standards that we have set for ourselves is also high. And we need, if we need the momentum to continue, we need to, look at new sources of funds, new instruments, and new sectors are emerging, and with new technologies. So I think we have to look at all that. And that would be the biggest challenge.
True. Thanks a lot, Jaishankar Saab. Actually, you have very nicely put your experience into words, like the possibility of ALM mismatch and the capital coming into the, or maybe the over leverage also you use somewhere the earlier period. And the reforms, which is one very good thing which you talked, like, the learning by doing. Probably that last 10 to 15 years, I have seen the industry evolving, so much things to learn, what has happened wrong in the past. And probably the industry, per se the banks and the other players are really trying to learn from it and gain from it and get the maturity levels. So thank you so much. Coming to Bhanumurthy Saab, very deep expertise in macro monetary economics and the fiscal policy, and then himself a scholar, creating so many scholars. So academician, would like to know from you your perspective of the Indian debt, both on a maybe on the larger scale, higher side, and even on the smaller side. What you feel view on that? Number one. Number two, ours is a monsoon related economy, you know. And as a banker, a practical banker, I would say, we always see that whether directly or indirectly it impacts a lot, to the monsoon. So your just a view, a thought on that.
Yeah, thank you very much. I know I'm odd man out on this panel. I'm coming from the academic background. I also like to take a little bit different from the topic. From we talked about private credit and private debt.
Yes.
Now I'll take a view from the public debt perspective.
Please.
I think that's. I'm sure all the banking sector has to focus more on the public debt, much more on the private debt, and also there is a lot of disconnect in my view that. The fiscal policy, banking sector, and the financial market relationship, I think it's not really much understood either in the literature, theoretical literature, or also in the financial market literature. So I have been working on this, how the fiscal policy can affect the banking and the financial markets, and I think we need to really appreciate that linkage if you really wanted to understand the long-term debt concept. If you look at the public debt, again, I must say that compared to private sector, public sector has done much better during COVID period as also on the post-COVID period. Now, if you want to understand how Indian public sector has done better, you need to look at what's happening in the advanced countries. I'm sure all of you would have seen the news that last week United States has hit the headlines where their public debt has increased to $34 trillion, and which is equivalent to the GDP of top 5 countries in the world. So that is the extent of debt the other advanced countries are creating. Right now, India's debt is just about 85 to 87% of GDP. And I think if you look at whether it is sustainable, I think many indicators suggest that it's really sustainable. And I think we need to thank both the finance ministry as well as the Reserve Bank of India for coordinating better during the crisis. In fact, debt is an outcome of the coordination between the fiscal and monetary policies.
True.
Now, because we have had a much better coordination compared to our own past and compared to other countries in the world, I think we have a much better debt situation right now. Having said that, I think I have been arguing for quite some time that debt should become part and parcel of all the legislatures. Like, in fact, if you look at one of our report to 14th Finance Commission, we argued that the public debt report, both at the state level as well as central level, need to be placed in the assemblies and the parliament. In fact, I have been arguing that wherever we have, dashboards, I think the first information should be about the public debt of the state or the center. Then only I think all of us would realize what is the extent of public debt that our next generation is going to pay off. And we also talked about renaming the FRBM Act. Again, I know many of you think that how does that related to the banking sector. This is my problem. We know that this FRBM Act is actually related to banking sector, but I think the practitioners, they do see that some kind of disconnect, and we have told, I think we have recommended that the FRBM Act need to be replaced with Debt Sustainability and Budget Management Act.
True.
The debt should be the first and foremost variable than even the GDP numbers in my view. So we need to have a long-term perspective, and this is the only sacrosanct number in this country, not the fiscal, GDP numbers. All of you know what is the problems with the GDP and other estimates, but I think only one sacrosanct number in this country is the public debt number. So I think that should become part and parcel of our discourse and deliberations. And when it comes to what India has done in the last 7-10 years, I think that should be an example. It has become a, best practice in the world. I told you about the fiscal monetary coordination. In fact, this has been discussed when the debt issues are discussed in the G20 deliberations. And the second thing is, I don't know, Charan Singh is here. In fact, there are a lot of discussion about to have a public debt management agency outside the Reserve Bank of India and fiscal policy. Thank God we have not done that, and we are still safe when RBI manages it. And we also talked about reducing the number of public sector banks. I think Mr. Ashwini Mahajan is here, I don't know. I think the whole discourse right now is actually tilting against the savings. The savings is one thing which has protected this country from all the shocks. You know, you take any shocks from the last 20, 30 years, it is just because of the domestic savings that actually we protected ourselves. And I think in that context, we actually need more public sector banks, more stronger public sector banks, not less. I think there is a need for right-sizing the public sector banks. We are talking about bringing 3 big banks. And you know, all of us know what happened during the Jan Dhan campaign. It is the 97-98% of the Jan Dhan accounts have been done by the public sector banks. I think, you know, we need to really realize the role of public sector banks when we talk about 2047, and as Minister also pointed out, I think the role of public sector banks need to be increased, not really decreased in the coming 20-25 years.
Thank
and
you.
there are some other solutions, but we can come back.
Yeah. Thank you so much. Actually, this is the beauty of, the diversity in the panelists. So we get to know so many things which is having the other side of the story. In between, I would like to have one more question with you, a quick short, before coming to the Maru Sahab. The government spending is a very key, to fuel the economy and post-COVID. We have seen that, almost all the economies. So as you said, it is around 80 to 84% of the GDP, and the earlier it was in 2020, I think 17, it was around 855%. But if we see the developed economies are somewhere 148, 145 to 150, now it may be more. You may be close